going to bring it to me. So, hey guys, this Zoom is all about being a crap magnet. I never heard that word until I started reading this book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, and I was like, wow, never put a word on it. But now we're going to show you, kind of talk you through how to not be a crap magnet, how to not get yourself in the position, how to prepare your mind. If y'all don't know Kelsey, I know this is like both of our Zoom. If y'all don't know Kelsey, she is such an awesome leader and she's going to pour into y'all. And I've got some super cool stuff from this book and things that I've kind of gathered along the way that have helped me kind of stay away from that. So if y'all don't know who I am, I'm Cheyenne Knox. I'm 20. I am a presidential diamond. I joined this business almost 3 freaking years ago. I remember when I joined hearing people say that and I was like, wow, like y'all are like really old. But like I'm almost 21. I joined this business when I was 18, which is so crazy because time flies so quickly. But I'm really excited about this. Kelsey, if you want to introduce yourself to people who maybe don't know you.
Yes. The book, I just read a comment, but the book is called Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. It is literally one of the most, probably biggest mindset shifts that I had after reading that book. It is something that I always recommend to anybody, whether you're in this business or you're not in this business. Like I tell it to everybody because, I'm a firm believer that being rich is a mindset, being successful is a mindset. Everything that you have right now is a result of what you're thinking. So I am Kelsey Thornton. I joined this business. Gosh, Shay said 3 years makes her feel old. I've joined 4 years ago, just for an extra $500. I just wanted to be bougie, get my hair and my nails done, not have it take away or feel bad about it. But I think the biggest thing is that when I joined, I was here for it. You know, that's my new saying, but like, I was just here for it. I was ready, because what was my alternative? And I think that that's something I always reminded myself of, because sometimes you don't know exactly what you're running towards, but you do know exactly what you're running away from. And so that was kind of where I was. And so I feel like this is my passion. This is something that like I just love talking about because it is literally everything. And so I'm super excited to pour into you tonight, and just hopefully praying that one of you can get just one thing from this that you take away. Because one thing I will tell you is that knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. Okay. So it only does as much good as you do with it, because execution is going to trump knowledge every single day. And so if you look at you look at what you're going through right now, whether it's personal, whether it's emotional, whether it's in the business, whether it's out of the business, whatever it is, I want you to really think, who's the common denominator? Is my team constantly quitting? Is my team never working? Okay. Who's the common denominator? And so that for me is just something that I want you to continue to ask yourself through this Zoom. And one thing I want you to do right now is to write. You can write in the comments. You can write it down on a piece of paper if you don't want to share. But what is one thing you're hoping to get out of this Zoom? What's one thing that you're here for? Why are you here tonight listening to the Zoom? Are you here out of obligation? Are you here because everybody else is on it? Are you here because you're just like, I'm ready to learn, I'm open to learn, whatever it is? I want you guys to know to why you're here, because when you know what you're looking for, oftentimes you find it.
Yes, I freaking love it. I love reading these comments too, because some of y'all are like, to point myself out, to get over myself, to glow up, like all the different kinds of things. Because guys, sometimes we got to check ourselves. Okay. It is so freaky. I mean, how many of y'all have gathered that this business is like a total mindset game? And when one thing happens, another thing happens, and another thing happens. And pretty soon we're over here like, okay, Jesus, I get it. Can I have a break for a second? And then sometimes we kind of sulk in it. And we get in these like crappy mindsets and we start thinking the world is ending. And it's kind of, who on here has seen The Secret? I want you to drop a 1. If you haven't, you're going to go watch it. You know, in it, if y'all seen the part where it's like he goes to put toothpaste on his toothbrush and it's empty, and then you get caught at every red light, and then this happens and that happens, and pretty soon you've got a really bad day. And so we wanted to just kind of break it down about how it happens, and maybe to evaluate if you are being a total crap magnet right now, which it can happen, and how we're going to kind of overcome that. And so some of the notes that I took down were, and I have them all right here so I don't forget anything because there's a lot of stuff, but you know, something that tends to happen is instead of, when all this stuff starts happening to you, instead of taking control of it, and, I know Kelsey's really big on this. I'm so big about being solution minded. Something happens, I'm like, okay, how can I fix it? How can I overcome this? Maybe this is happening from something I'm doing or something I'm not. But, a lot of things you're going to realize in life is you can't control what happens to you, but you can sure control how you handle it. And so something that happens is, instead of us taking control of it, sometimes we have 3 things that happen. We start blaming, we start justifying, and we start complaining. That's 3 things of a victim mindset. Instead of, becoming that solution-minded person, you're letting all this stuff take you over. You're literally having all this stuff, and you're blaming. So you start blaming everything, right? You're like, well, this is only happening because this person or because this thing. And you start blaming everybody but yourself or your situation. Then number 2, you start justifying. You're like, okay, well, this is happening and it's fine. I wasn't meant to be successful, or, maybe I wasn't meant to go double diamond. I'm just going to justify that it's fine. I'm not enrolling because, I'm not really working that hard, but it's okay. Like, I'll work hard next month. How many, you do that, right? We justify everything because we're humans and we're lazy sometimes. We don't want to do the work. So we just justify being comfortable where we are. You're like, I'll just live paycheck to paycheck because that's what I do. Okay. That's what I've always done. I'm not going to change it. And then number 3, we complain. All day. I complain all the time. I'm a victim. That's what I do. I complain. And we all do. But sometimes we get into too much of a cycle of just complaining about everything. How many of you have those friends that just complain all the time and you're like, I cannot be around this person anymore because they're literally complaining about everything. So those are the 3 things that we do. And so,
can I touch on that real quick?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes we convince ourselves, like we're really good at making ourselves feel better. Okay. And maybe in a little bit. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. I told Brian he might need to pop on and speak for a little bit. But one of the things that I've learned about myself is that I'm really good at making myself feel better. But sometimes what happens is, and like justifying it, which is what blaming is, which is what, complaining is, it's always making yourself feel better. And one of the biggest addictions right now in our society is problems, because we want to connect with people. And too often we connect with people through their problems and not through their success, right? One of the fears of some people is that they don't want to be successful because they don't know who they're going to relate to, because nobody is successful, right? And they can't connect to people who are successful. They feel like people are going to success shame them, right? And so for me, one thing that I always think about is it's okay to sit in your pain for a second. If you're disappointed, that's okay. Talk to God about it, okay? But stop talking to other people about it. Stop talking to other people about it. Because what you want is you're asking them to connect with you, and you're asking them to say, oh yeah, me too. I totally understand. Okay. Or you're asking them to give you motivation, and motivation is crap, y'all. Motivation is garbage. Motivation lasts for 5 seconds. Okay. If you've ever been drop a 2, if you've ever been on a Zoom and nothing changed after you watched it. You felt great afterwards, but you never implemented anything into your business. You just were on it. Right? And so one of the things that I want you to realize is, like, the first step is taking ownership of what do you have? What is your responsibility in this? It could be 30%. It could be 100%, whatever it is. What is your responsibility in this? Okay. And when we talk about being a crap magnet, we're talking about our thoughts. Okay. Because we're complaining about, this person's not working. Every distributor I assign, it isn't working, or this is a slow season, or whatever. But what's happening is that you're making that bigger. Okay. So instead of saying, oh my gosh, like, I right now need to get more creative. What can I do? What can I do to sign? If my goal was to sign 2 customers, what can I do to sign 20? Okay. But here's the other thing, you guys. You have to understand what the problem was before, okay? Because there was a problem. If you are not getting the results that you want, there's a problem. Identify what the disconnect is, okay? If you're not getting the results that you want, if you're not achieving the progress, okay, that you want, identify what that is. And it's 99% of the time a belief. Mm-hmm. It's a belief problem, okay? It's 4 things. You don't believe in the business, you don't believe in the products, you don't believe in yourself, or you don't believe in network marketing. Once you identify what it is, I'm not worthy, I can't have everything, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not skinny enough, I'm not whatever enough, okay? Whatever that belief is, I want you to sit in that belief for a second. And I want you to feel that, believe that, make that the only belief that you can feel for the next 5 years. Can't ever get yourself out of it. You can't believe anything different than that belief. So put in the comment, what belief is holding you back? I don't believe in myself at all. Well, why? Go deeper. Why don't you believe in yourself? What is part of is holding you back? Okay. So what is it that's holding you back? Put it in the comments. And I want you to sit there and really think, what is this going to affect if I truly believe this for the next 5 years? Is it moving you closer to your goals? Is that belief helping you achieve what you want? Is it affecting your relationships? Is it affecting your income? Is it affecting your relationship with God? And believe that. And you have to get to the point where you literally are like, screw that. I do not want to believe that. Because if you look at your life in 5 years from now, if you stay believing that, it's not where you want. And everybody needs to get over this thing about worthiness. Okay. Amber Parker said on our leadership retreat, she did a Zoom with us, and a bunch of people were talking about, I don't feel worthy, I don't feel enough, whatever that excuse was. And she said, God already said you were worthy, and Jesus said you were worthy when he died on the cross. If there's already a yes, why are you looking for a no?
So good.
And I was like, I don't know, because we want to make excuses for our laziness. And we want to say it's something we're not worthy, we're not good enough, whatever. No, you are. You are. Jesus already died for you. He already said you were worthy. Okay. But what happens is that we start to tell ourselves these stories, okay, of somebody else, that somebody else told us. Okay. We need to start running to failure. We need to start going after what it is that we're scared of. If you're scared of failing, you're never going to get to ambassador. You're never going to get whatever, because guess what? That fear is going to hold you back from doing the bold things that need to get done. Okay. So look it in the eye and say, not today, not today. And you have that choice. That's the best part. And that's why we're talking about this, is because you have that choice. So don't talk to people about your problems. Talk to people about your God. Okay. Because you cannot have negative thoughts and live a positive life. Yep. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I loved that. And that's, what she just said, like, if you sit there and say like you're not worthy and that you're like afraid of this, you're justifying that you can't be successful and that you can't be where you want to be. And so I love that, because I've always held on to that too. Like, it's not ever an issue of being worthy of something or you using that as an excuse to not get what you want. That's ridiculous. Jesus already said you were worthy. So go after it. But I want to take y'all back for a second. So who remembers in middle school or in high school when they talked about law of attraction and all that stuff in science class and you didn't pay attention? Well, it's coming back into play for what you do right now. So like attracts like, law of attraction. So what you're talking about and what you're sulking in and what you're complaining about and what you're justifying, that is going to attract all of that over and over and over again. The more you hate this and the more you struggle with this and the more you can't train your distributors and the more you can't attract the right people, you're going to keep attracting the wrong people because that's what you're thinking. Cami always says, oh, you think you can't be successful? You're right. You think you can't enroll distributors? You're right. And I have, people on my team that come to me and they're like, well, I'm struggling with this. I'm doing this. And it's all they ever say. And I'm like, when have you focused on being proactive and attracting the right kind of people and being exactly who you want on your team and attracting that person? Because right now you're attracting people who complain all the time. And you're attracting people who complain about not being able to enroll. And you attract people who don't do what you're not doing. Have any of y'all taken a step back? It is hard, y'all. It is hard to point the finger at yourself, okay? It's one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. But once you do it and you actively work towards finding that solution, I promise you your entire life and your business will change. I pointed that finger at myself, and I went from double diamond to presidential in 8 months because I got over myself of 10 months trying to say, well, I deserve this promotion, and I wasn't doing nothing because I was being a crap magnet. Okay. All this stuff was happening in my life. I went through relationship struggles. I moved into college. I had no friends. I was starting my life over. And I said, okay, business, back burner. I'm going to complain that I can't enroll. I'm going to complain that my checks are dropping. I'm going to complain that I'm not a diamond anymore. That's literally all I was doing, to the point where I was pissing my own self off because I was like, who is this person? And I was a crap magnet, y'all, because T. Harv Eker put a definition to what I was feeling. He told me, you're being a crap magnet, because that's all I was focusing on. And the moment I said, you know what, just like Kelsey said, I was willing to fail upwards. Mark said that on a coaching or on a family call one time, and I was like, yes. Like, you're never going to go straight up that mountain and not fail. You're going to fail up and up and up and up, but at least you are working on growing. You're working on that next thing, because what you're attracting is what you're going to get. And that's what happened in that complete turnaround in my business. And now I can put words on it. Then I was like, I don't know what happened. I just did it. But it's because I started attracting who I was. And that person that I was a changed person who wanted growth, who stopped attracting everything I didn't want, who stopped saying this wasn't working and that wasn't working. And I went out and found what worked. I stopped saying that I couldn't enroll distributors and I couldn't enroll customers. And I said, you know what? I can, because what I want is bigger. And if I had done it before, half of y'all have done it before. And then you get I was talking about this to my leader today, one of them, and she was like, I just can't enroll. And I was like, okay, well, didn't you enroll 30 customers the other month and 12 distributors? And aren't you almost triple diamond? Aren't you almost there, right? You've done it before. But what happens is we, don't enroll for 4 or 5 days, and we're like, oh, I'm getting a little nervous. I haven't enrolled in 4 or 5 days. And then you start sweating a little bit. Then you start freaking out, and you're like, oh, well, maybe my posts aren't good enough. I'm going to go copy this person because maybe she's working. And then you start freaking out, and then this thing happens and this thing happens, and pretty soon you built a wall. And pretty soon everything is a disaster, and you're complaining about everything, and everything feels like it's just caving in on you, right? And then you're like, oh, great, well, I'm unhappy now, and I lost my rank, and there my paycheck went down, and it's just all the way down. It happened to me. And I guarantee you it's happened to a lot more leaders than you think. But what happens is you get back up, and you start praying about it, and you start evaluating it, and you start growing. My word for the end of this year is abundance. I keep seeing it everywhere. At the beginning of the year, everyone says to come up with a word, and I couldn't come up with a word. It's August. It's August 20-something, and I found my word, and it's abundance. And I keep seeing it. A quote this morning, a quote that said abundance, and I found it in a book, and my little Bible verse thing came up, and it talked about abundance, and I was like, okay, I hear you. I got it. When you focus on more, and you focus on growth, and you focus on where you want to be, I was on that Zoom about single ladies the other day, and we were talking about it, and Jordan said, sometimes it's hard to find that why to keep you going when it gets hard, and that why to keep you going when it's tough. Sometimes we can't really find it, right? Maybe some of you struggle with finding it, and I did for a long time, because I had it, then I accomplished it, and then I kind of struggled a little bit. And she said, sometimes you just got to know what you don't want. Mm-hmm. And I was like, ooh, there we go. I found it. I know what I don't want. I know what I don't want to go back to. And so I focus on abundance, and I focus on growth. If I sit there and focus on things that aren't working, we can find a lot of things in our life that don't work. Kelsey, she could probably sit there and be like, well, this sucks. And this probably sucks a little bit too. And I'm really unhappy about this, but look at all the things she has. Y'all, she's an ambassador. She's living a good life. She could sit there and make a probably way longer list of pros, and so can I. But we can also sit there and sulk in our sadness and things that suck and things that aren't working. And so I want y'all to think about that sometimes on, you're like, why is this happening to me? How many of y'all say that? What am I doing wrong? Jesus, what's happening? Why is this happening to me? It's because you're attracting it. And sometimes we don't see it. It's really hard in the moment to, like I said, point yourself out. So really focus on how you're being, because how you're being is what you're attracting, and you need to kind of flip the switch on that.
Yeah. And one of the things that I've learned is to give myself grace, you guys, because none of us are perfect. And so we're not sitting on this Zoom saying you need to get your crap together. It's listen, this is what helped me when I needed to get my crap together. So hopefully it will help you. Okay. That's where we're coming from, because we've all had those times where we needed to get our crap together. And so one of the things that I've read recently was talking about how you don't have to be perfect. Okay. But it's kind of like an election, right? When you go to elect the president, let's say, they don't need 100%. It's not a unanimous vote. They just need the majority. And so are you thinking more about the positive or more about the negative. And that was so like such a good example for me in my mind. I'm all about like metaphors because that's just how my brain works. So for me, that was so easy to think about, like, okay, yeah, I had that negative thought, but let me replace it with like 6 positive ones and then I'll be winning, you know, I'll be winning the vote. Okay. So that's what I want you guys to think about, is how much positivity have I put in my mind today? And you guys, we have to protect our minds because there is so much negativity out there that we can focus on, but we have to just make a choice. What are we going to allow? I think Amber Parker calls them like her ear gates and her eye gates. And so what are you allowing? Like, do you have your gates up, or are you listening to everything and everybody? Okay. The other thing I wanted to touch on real quick is finding your passion, because I think so often, and I was so guilty of this, you guys, I was like, came in the business and I went diamond and I was like, is this my passion? Like, did I find my passion? But like, I didn't know, like, because we have all these awesome cliche quotes, like dream big, find your passion, go after what you want, whatever. And in this book, it's so good. It's called, Beginner's Pluck. Okay. If you haven't heard of it, I highly suggest getting it. She was a speaker at the Global Leadership Conference that I went to. And she starts talking about this. And so she says, listen, what if you start asking yourself, instead of what are you passionate about, what if we just started saying, what am I interested in? The stakes are a whole lot lower. The freedom to explore simply what you're interested in might create a space that allows you to just keep exploring. And so just saying like, what am I interested in? Stop putting so much pressure on yourself to make the next right step, right? Like, this is something that I have to do, right? This is, oh gosh, if this doesn't, it's Beginner's Pluck, Pluck. But like, you guys, passion isn't something that like any of us stepped into this business with. We stepped in on a hope and a prayer. Okay. Like, just, it was like the Hail Mary. Okay. It was a last ditch effort. It was a last resort for a lot of it, for a lot of us. And so we didn't step in knowing that we were going to be successful at this. But what you have to understand is that sometimes you just have to take the next step. Start dreaming small. Start saying, my dream is to sign 3 customers in a month. Okay. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I accomplished that. And get those small wins for yourself and focus on what you can control instead of focusing on like these huge, massive dreams that you think that you have to have right now. Yes, it's important to know where you're going, but it's also important to stop putting that pressure on yourself and start also realizing, like, you know what, right now, you might be average. Maybe that's why you're where you're at, because the majority of us are, because that's the definition of average, right? Are you in the majority? So being average isn't something you're born with. Like, everybody is average when we first start, but it's what you do with it. And so that's something that I want you guys to kind of focus on is, am I putting all this pressure on myself? Am I thinking I'm more negative than I am? I'm super guilty of that because I am like very hard on myself. So even if I think one negative thought, I'm like, gosh, Kelsey, stop being negative. But then I like take an inventory throughout my day. And I'm like, I was actually really good, like really positive today, you know, and like, I didn't let this thing affect me or that thing affect me, because so often a negative report sticks with us longer than a positive one. Right. And that was something that I realized, and I'll just tell you a story real quick. After I went ambassador, you guys, if I'm being totally vulnerable, I was kind of like, now what? Now what? Like, I hit that goal. Okay. Now what? And then I was reading a book and it talked about how goals can limit us. And it's important to have them. But if we work in like a goal-oriented mindset, what we're doing is we're not allowing ourselves permission to be happy until we've reached that goal. And the reality of it is progress equals happiness. You guys, progress equals happiness. Were you better today than you were yesterday? Yesterday, were you okay? And then today you were better. And it just 2 centimeters every single day, and it starts to compound. So stop setting these crazy goals because it sounds good. Okay. Stop setting those just because you feel like, oh, well, I'm an emerald, so my goal needs to be diamond. Maybe your goal is an income. Maybe your goal is to feel amazing about your team and how you're leading them. Maybe your goal is to develop your leadership. Okay. Maybe your goal is just to become bold and Maybe your goal is to step closer to Jesus, because all of those things will get you to the rank that you want. But don't say that you can't be happy until you hit the goal. Okay? Because that's limiting yourself. Because guess what? Once you hit the goal, it's like anticlimactic. And I'm sure each one of you who has hit like ruby or diamond or double, you're kind of like, okay, next. Because what happens when you hit it? You set a new goal. And then you're going to be in the same situation. So you don't think that you have to have this massive goal and you can't be happy until that. Look at how much progress you've made. Look at where your business is. I read this quote the other day and it said, it says, make sure you're grateful and giving thanks for as long as you prayed for the blessing that you have now. So if you prayed to go ambassador, or if you prayed to go prez for a year, and it takes you one day to stop being grateful for it, it's a disconnect. Okay? So make sure you're grateful for as long as you've prayed for it. And that was like such a big gut check for me, because I was like, oh my God, I was not that grateful like for that long. And I think all of us can relate to it, but it's just making sure that like a lot of us are in places where we didn't even ever think we could be in this business. And it's great to raise your standards, but it's also an amazing thing to be grateful and live in a grateful state.
Yes. So good. And guys too, like I want y'all to think about, you know, how she was mentioning keeping, you know, gates on your eyes and your ears. I want you to evaluate your circle. That's a big, big part of, you know, positivity and negativity of whether you're growing or you're staying stagnant. And a big part of, you know, I see just my friends, you know, outside of this business, you see people and you see who they hang out around, and they're exactly who they hang around. And I think back about my friends when I joined this business in high school, those people they're not who I would be around now because of this business and because the growth that I've had and because the personal development I've had. And so a lot of times, some people come to me and they're like, well, I just feel so negative and like everything's going on. And I'm like, who are you surrounding yourself with? Are these people making you better? Are you the best person in your circle? Because that means you need to level up. Half the people in my circle don't even know they're in my circle. Okay. Stephanie does. But we don't talk every day. Okay. You know, these people that, you know, that encourage me to grow and that encourage me to be better and show me that there is another way, and that, I'm young. And so I have not had a lot of life experiences or things happen to me. So I look up to older people that have gone through things, that are strong, that, you know, talk more and they've read more and they've learned more. That's what I want, because that's how I'm going to grow beyond my years. And it doesn't, you know, age is just a number. My mind can be farther than 20 years old. And so, you know, I challenge you to just tonight reevaluate. Who are you around? You probably have those negative Nancys that are just so unhappy with their life. You know, they hate going to work. They dread this. They talk about this. And you're just like, oh my God. And as you start growing your mind, I promise you'll start realizing things more. Like just reading every book that I've read past, you know, every single book, there's more things I realize about people that I'm like, okay, I love you, but I'm going to distance myself a little bit because you're bringing me down. Okay. And you may have people like that on your team. Right? You may have people on your team that just suck the absolute life out of you. Your job as their leader is to show them the way. Your job as their leader is to have leadership and pour into them and to show them, you know, you don't got to be a crap magnet, sister. Like, this is the good life, okay? And you teach them and you encourage them. And like I said, like attracts like. So if you are that leader that is just like, you know, I want to be that leader that even on my worst days, I'm a firm foundation. I'm somebody that they can look up to. And I'm not saying I have to be perfect. I'm not saying you have to be perfect. But I'm saying that if you are pouring into yourself and you're keeping your mind right and you're being strong and you're growing, your team is going to look up to that and know that even on your bad days, you're still there going. You're picking yourself back up. You're pouring into your mind. I do my journaling Zooms every morning with my team, which I encourage y'all to get on. It's the same code at 9 a.m. every morning. And, you know, some days I have bad days and I talk about it and I talk about that, but you've got to be the one to grow. And, you know, I always say this, you're the only one that's got you. Okay. Nobody else got you. Nobody has your mind. Nobody's got, you know, your goal is at the forefront of their mind. Like, you got you, sister. And you're the only one that can pour into you. No, Kelsey can't read my personal development for me. Yeah, I can probably call her every day and she's probably like, well, I learned this because she's just that kind of person, but it's not going to be the same. Only I can pick up a book and read it. Only I can make myself become better. Only I can bring myself to church. So what are you wanting to be and how are you holding your own self back? You know, maybe there's people in your circle holding you back, but maybe you're holding yourself back. And I see it happen all the time. Like, pour into yourself, want more for you. Like, what do you want? And instead of focusing on all these things that aren't working right now, focus on growth. Focus on this place, not here. You got to go forward. And just like I said, you got to fail upwards, okay? Because I have done a lot of things wrong. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've, not trained distributors in the right mindset, and they just pieced out on me. Like, I've been there, okay? But just think about that. And that's another thing I have written down is, maybe your new distributors that you're, having all these, maybe you're not struggling with enrolling right now. Maybe they're coming to you, but then they come to you and you're not in that right mindset, and you're just like automatically maybe expecting them to not work because the last 5 didn't. Or maybe, you're just not looking at them the right way because your mind isn't right. Y'all, your mind is so powerful. And I've noticed that sometimes when I'm not in the right mind or I'm struggling with something personally, and it talks about this in the whole beginning of the book, is just like your inner self is exactly the reflection of your outer. Like what you have in here is exactly what's going to happen outside of you. If I'm literally, just like I said, focusing on all the bad, nothing good's going to happen. My business isn't going to go up. My volume's not going to go up. My enrollments and my team isn't going to go up. My leadership growth isn't going to go up. Nothing is going to rise if it sucks in here.
And one of the examples he uses that stuck out to me, because like I said, I'm all about metaphors, because that's really like, I feel like how my brain processes things is if you, let's say you type up a document, right, on Word and you print it out. That's exactly kind of what's happening in your life. So your thoughts are what you're typing. And when you print it out, it's exactly what's in here. And so many of us, right, when we get the result, which is the print paper, we are trying to erase what's on the print paper. Yep. Because that's the output. But what we have to do is change the input. What's on the computer screen, what's on the Word document, because you can't even no matter how hard you try, you can't change what is input based on the output. So if I try to sit there and backspace on the piece of paper that's already printed, it's not going anywhere. Okay, because if I press print, the same thing's gonna print on the screen because I didn't change it internally, I changed it externally. So we have to focus on what's the root of the cause instead of, oh, it's a bad apple. It might just be a bad tree. So it might be coming from within. I know some people said that they really wanted to learn stuff about leadership. And so I want to touch on like a mindset of a leader. And this was something leaders, I think Shay's journaling Zooms are Monday through Friday. And I think it's the same Zoom code at 9 Central, right? Okay. So are you a responsibility-based leader or are you a rewards-based leader? Okay. And I want you to write that down. Responsibility versus rewards. So we all need to have responsibility-based leadership. And what that means is when Jesus came, he came to serve us, not to be served by us. Okay. And so we have to get away from like this thing of servant leadership, because all leadership should be servant. Like there shouldn't be any other type of leadership. Right. And so what do responsibility-based leaders do? Number one, they have tough conversations, even if it's uncomfortable with them, because that's their responsibility. Okay. Number two, what they do is they manage people. And I don't mean micromanage, but people need to be managed. We need accountability. I need accountability. We need to make sure that we're, have the right mindset. We need to be checked in with, we need all of these things. And so as a leader, you're going to have to do that. And here's the thing. How many of you guys are better when you're held accountable by your enroller? When somebody asks you what your freaking enrollments are you going to be excited about telling that person? I know when Aaron used to ask me, I'd be like, oh God, she's about to ask me. I would like fear and dread that question when I was having some bad months, right? And so right now, if your team asks you what your enrollments were, your downline, would you be excited to share with them? Right? Would you feel proud about that? And so you have to help manage people, and not in a sense of being a manager, but being a leader. Okay. That's part of being a leader. The other thing is that they do the hard stuff, meaning they have the meetings, even if they might feel like those are boring. They do the things that they need to do to get it done because that's their responsibility. And they do team building, right? And here's the other thing that responsibility-based leaders do. They repeat themselves, okay? Because as leaders, we all need to repeat ourselves. I always tell the first time you know you're leaders when you repeat yourselves like 4 times. I'll have some of my emerging leaders call me and they'll be like, oh my God, I feel like I've told this person this 17 times. I'm like, welcome to leadership. Okay, because that's what being a leader is. It's just, sometimes it's repeating themselves, because when you told it to them last time, they weren't in the space to receive it because their kids were screaming, they had dishes to do, their mind was elsewhere. Okay, so that's part of being a leader. And part of repeating yourself is constantly reminding your team and yourself of your why. But the most important person you have to lead is yourself. So you have to constantly be reminding yourself of, why do you need to do this business? What don't you want to go back to? What do you want to run towards? Whatever it is that is inspiring you. Because again, motivation is garbage. Motivation is a feeling. Inspiration is inside of you. Okay. And we all have inspiration inside of us. It's just how much dust is under it. Like how much dust is covering that inspiration. And so those are the things that we're like, responsibility-based leadership does, but rewards-based leadership doesn't do any of that. They don't do any of that, because all they want is the good part of leadership. They want the stage light. They want the rewards that come with leadership. They want the money. They want this. But if you're not willing to do the hard stuff, you're not going to get the rewards. Okay. And you're going to be at the top by yourself. Okay. That is something that I've learned. And you guys, I am not green. So like me doing green stuff as a leader drains like so much of my energy, but I do it because it's my responsibility. Yeah. Okay. It's my responsibility. And that's something that I've learned, because I used to, in some aspects, be a rewards-based leader. I used to only want to do the fun stuff. Like, oh, I'll just do all the Zooms because that's what I love doing. And then I'll do this. And then I'll make sure that everybody's good, and I'll call and I'll check in with them, and I'll have all these awesome conversations. But I wasn't doing the work. I wasn't looking at numbers. I wasn't asking people their enrollments. I wasn't necessarily always having those hard conversations because it was easier not to. Okay. And so ask yourself, what type of leader are you being? And then the other thing I just want to touch on, because it just came to my mind, and it's totally separate, but if you are feeling frustrated in your business right now, if you are feeling discouraged, if you are feeling any sense of negativity towards your business right now, I want you to know that the enemy has isolated you, and he's let you isolate yourself. And if you're feeling lonely in your business, like nobody understands, nobody gets it, nobody whatever, loneliness will skew your reality. And it is so important that you get on Zooms like this, that you talk to other people, and not about your problems. You talk to them about what solutions. Hey, am I making sure that I'm in community? Because community is so important, you guys. We're not made to be here by ourselves. We were made to build relationships with people, have relationships with people, connect with people. And so don't let the devil isolate you or make you feel like you're alone, because that will skew your reality. I know that was totally random, but yeah, that was just my other thing that I wanted to make sure I touched on.
No, because that kind of flows into what I was saying next is, guys, we need to do something together, okay? We need to establish that bad stuff is going to happen, okay? So let's not just think that our worlds are going to be rainbows and butterflies, and that our promotions are going to be easy, and that this business is just good, perfect all the time. It's not. And we're establishing that right here. It's not always going to be great. But what I'm going to tell you is that it's going to be worth it. Is that everything that I went through between losing rank for so long and being so frustrated, and just that anxious feeling of, is it going to get better? Am I a good leader? All that leadership questioning, which happens a lot. If you feel like you're not a good leader, I want you to drop a 3. If you feel like you struggle as a leader, a lot of people do. You see this? It's not perfect all the time. A lot of us struggle. Some days I wake up and I'm like, Kelsey, I suck at this, dude. I need your help. It's hard and it doesn't get better. But what it does is we grow every day. I answer questions. Sometimes my team texts me things and I'll answer it. And I'm like, whoa, who's that? I don't even know who that is, because I've grown so much. But I would have never grown if I wouldn't have struggled. And that's something we tend to oversee, is that we have to go through the struggle. We have to go through the suck. We have to embrace the suck in order to be better, in order to grow as leaders, in order to rank up, in order to get the things that we want, because nothing good comes easy. And I can guarantee you that. This road to, Kelsey going ambassador, me going president, ambassador seems like it's light years away right now. But I know that as I continue to grow and as I continue to fail upwards, ambassador will happen. And I know that. And Kelsey's going to be ambassador 2.0 because she's working on our 2.0 account. Okay. And she's failing upwards too. And so I wrote down things that, the making the team Zooms and only a few people getting on, and the having so many people in your downline and only a few people texting you back, and having a diamond chart with only like 2 people working on it. We've been through it. We've been there. And I want you to know that it's fine, but it's not okay to sulk in it. And it's not okay to just keep attracting it and like attracting like of you being this person and keeping getting all these bad things. You've got to focus on the next thing, and you got to focus on where you want to go. And that biggest thing being mindset. That biggest thing being personal freaking development, okay? That was what I struggled with the most when I was struggling in my business, was I wasn't growing my mind whatsoever, because what I thought about personal development was, I don't need it. Mm-hmm. I got a strong mind. I'm good. I'm positive. I'm over here. Like, it's okay. Like, yeah, you think that about yourself until stuff starts happening in your business. And then as you continue growing in your business, it multiplies. You've got more people depending on you, and you're having more conversations, and it's success in numbers. And I realized that because I got to Diamond and I was never growing that whole time, and it caught up to me. And then I discovered personal development, and I started growing myself, and I was like, okay, I am worthy. I can be successful. I do like money. And I realized all these things about myself I never knew. And so as I've continued to grow, you've got to, just like AJ just said, you got to level up to go up, sister. You got to level up your mind. You got to be better. And so if y'all haven't been focusing on personal development and you're wondering why so much stuff feels negative and why everything just seems to keep happening to you, it's because your mind is here. You get to a certain point and you can't keep going. You can't keep growing because it just stacks up and stacks up and stacks up. And pretty soon you've got a wall that you have to break through. And I know, Kelsey, you probably got something to add on personal development.
For sure. I mean, and I was reading the comments, and Lydia said that she's charted for Diamond and only 2 people out of 47 in her downline are working. And you guys, she is not alone. Okay, Lydia, you're not alone in that. That happens.
That was me.
Literally, I feel like everybody who goes Diamond, it's like, oh my gosh. But what I will say is that you need to focus on those 2 people. Like, they will be with you when you go ambassador. Because here's what happens, okay, is that we start focusing on the 45 that aren't working, and then the 2 people stop working. Because basically what you're doing is you're teaching people that the negative things are getting more attention than the positive things. And so your time needs to go to people that are willing to put in the work, okay? I want you to focus on those 2 people like your life depends on it, okay? I want you to pour into them. You guys, my favorite definition of a leader, okay? My favorite definition of a leader is 2 parts. Number 1, having the ability to identify potential in somebody. And number 2, having the courage to develop it. Okay, the courage to develop it. Okay, most people can identify the potential. We get that first part down, and we're like, this person has so much potential. Why the heck aren't they working? Oh my gosh, dude, I signed this girl. You guys, I will never forget. There was one time, and Brian can attest to this, but there was one time I literally spent probably 5 straight days on this one person that I thought was going to change my business. I was like, dude, she has like 20,000 followers. If she joins my business, she is about to be lit. I am like, seriously, this is the ticket. This is the secret. Okay, this girl signed. I spent so much time. She was the biggest energy drain of my life. Okay, literally, she just kept asking questions. She was so negative. Every single thing was like, whatever. Like, it was just crazy. And I was literally like, oh my gosh, we spend so much time focusing on the wrong things. Why would I focus on that person? Well, because it's a shiny object, right? Because she already has 20,000 followers. Okay, what happens next though is that we don't focus on the people. Like, when I started, I literally had like 300 followers, and I developed it. I developed my Instagram. I developed my Facebook. I developed everything, right? It wasn't that all of a sudden I just overnight became this success. I step by step, day by day, put in the work. I fell down some days. I fell on my face. I tripped. Whatever. I failed. But here's the thing is that you have to start saying, who's excited about this business? That's the first thing I look for. Okay. Who is positive? And I don't mean that they don't come to you with issues, but when they come to you with, hey, have you ever experienced this? I feel like I'm a little bit like just discouraged right now, and I would love just to chat and get some inspiration, versus stop talking to you, say, oh my God, I'm so discouraged. Like, I just feel like nothing's working. And they don't ever offer a solution to try to help fix it, right? So here's the thing, is that we all have people on our teams that aren't working, but stop giving them so much power and control over your future.
Yes.
Stop doing that. That is so ridiculous. That is so ridiculous. That is like you saying, I have two $100 bills, but I'd rather focus on all the ripped $1 bills that I have. That doesn't even make sense, you guys. That makes no sense. And you're going to try to sit there and tape them together and fix them all. Okay? So don't do that. Just focus on the amazing people that are working. And you know what will happen is when you do that, it will expand. You will find people. You will start shouting those people out on your team page. You will start shouting those people out on your public profile. And you're going to attract people who want to have that. They want to be a part of a winning team. So stop talking about your team not winning. People don't want to be a part of a losing team. They want to be a part of a winning team. So focus on what's freaking winning. What's winning right now? There is something you can find in your business that's winning. I promise you, there is something that you can find. It's just a matter of, are you looking for it? It's like the old metaphor. It's like, when you get a car, you're like, oh my God, I love this car. It's like a freaking Lexus. Okay. And you get the car and you never saw it. You never freaking saw the Lexus before. Not in the color that you got it. You didn't see it. And then once you buy it, what happens? You see it every freaking where. Everywhere. Right? Because you're looking for it, because you notice it. Have you ever been looking for something that's orange and you're like, this is orange. I cannot find it. I cannot find it. But really, you just forgot it was red and it was right under your nose the whole time, but you weren't looking for something red. So you skipped right over it.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. So I need you guys to realize that whatever you're focusing on, the people who are working or the people who aren't, you're going to get more of it.
Yes. And that's something too that I give a lot of credit to, just like the massive growth in my business coming from nothing, was because for so long I focused on, like I said, the 46 other people that weren't working and not the 2. And the moment that I was so excited over nothing, over like those one little thing, like I was like, oh, well, the only potential I got is like my posts are good. So I focused on that and I focused on the excitement, and it just got the ball going from everything that was coming along that was good, that was great. And I was just focusing on new things that were exciting rather than all the stuff that I was putting all my focus on that was holding me back. But I love that someone said in the comments, they said, how do you develop that potential that you see in somebody? And I think my number one answer is you have to instill belief in people. Cami always says on there that you've got to believe in people and give them recognition, because sometimes they don't see it. They don't see that potential. They don't see that they can be successful. I mean, how many of y'all that have been successful, diamond, double, maybe you're at that point? Me, I didn't ever think that I would be presidential diamond at 20 years old. This is not a life I ever thought I would have in myself. I didn't see that when I joined. Kelsey didn't see ambassador. You have to instill that belief that you see in people, because, if you don't, who will? They've never been in a business like this. I've never seen anything that is such a mind thing. And if they don't see that, they will never unleash the thing that you see in them. And I mean, how incredible would that be if your leader went up to you and said, wow, like you are such an incredible leader, and I just can't wait to see how much you grow. Like, I just know that you're going to be so incredible. How good would that feel? Go to those people on your team instead of the ones, even the ones that have kind of fallen off. I did it today. I was like, hey, I've seen you talk to me about why you want this business. I've seen you cry over it. And you're literally getting rid of that, and you're letting go of what I see in you. And you have to reinstill that, because people will put value in what you give them. And so that's how you develop potential, is you show them what they have because they don't see it. And so
great freaking answer. And I will say, people always rise up to the expectation that you set for them. So the example I always use is, the Usher song, You Remind Me of a Girl That I Once Knew. We all go in with some baggage, right? When we sign a new distributor, we're like, this girl reminds me of that chick who did not freaking work. And I'm just going to get another one of these chicks, like, that doesn't work. She says she's going to do it, whatever. But like, you guys, you're putting that on her, and she's going to rise to the level of that expectation. You know what I've started doing? And this is just a mindset thing for me. Whenever I sign a new distributor, I put a diamond before their name in my phone. Mm-hmm. And I just start talking about diamond, because I know that when I started, I hit ruby, and I was like, come on, I'm on the mountaintop, y'all. I made it. I just earned $1,000 bonus. I'm good. And Erin called me and she was like, get out your diamond chart. And I was like, bruh, I just hit ruby. There's another level between there, isn't there? And she was like, no, like just get out your diamond chart. And I was like, you really think that I can do that? And she was like, yes, you can do that. I needed like 12 distributors, and like my volume went from 4,000 from the month I went ruby, and then next month it went to 17,000.
What?
In 1 month. And I promise you guys, it was simply just because she told me, and I obviously did the work, but I did the work because she believed in me, because she told me I could. And if she told me I could, who was to say that I can't? And so I just started being like, yep, we're doing this. Then I started telling my team that. And I started saying, you are. And it's more than that. It's more than just saying at the beginning of the month. This is my pet peeve. People call people at the beginning of the month. I'm going diamond, so you're going emerald, and you're going ruby, and whatever. And then you don't hear that person doesn't call them until the 25th.
Yep.
And it's like, bro, where were you the whole time, the whole month? Okay. So make sure that you know those people in the ruby boxes, why they want $500. What is that $500 going to do for them? Can you write a paragraph about their why? And if you can't, you're not being a leader that you need to be. If you cannot write down why people on your team want to make the money, what they're going to do with it, how they're going to spend it, how it's going to change their life, then you need to get with it. Go figure out what their why is. One thing I did when I was going triple is I put the why of my team on my dream board. I said, give me your biggest thing you want to accomplish this year. And I put them all they each gave me one thing, and I wrote it down and with their name, and I put it up on my dream board. And that way it reminded me that I had that responsibility-based leadership, right? That when I didn't feel like working, it's way easier to say, oh, my dreams can wait, but it's harder to say, oh, her dreams can wait.
Yes. So good. So tonight, guys, I want y'all, this is like a quote that I highlighted when I read this book. And it says, it's time to take back your power and acknowledge that you create everything that is in your life and everything that is not in it. Realize that you create your wealth, your non-wealth, and every level in between. So tonight, establish the bad stuff's going to happen. Establish all the things that we've talked about, but establish where you can grow. Establish where you can put your focus. Maybe you've been putting your focus on the wrong things. You've been focusing on the things that don't matter, that the devil is doing to distract you from what God has given you, that your purpose is. Mm-hmm. If you were meant to go diamond, sister, you're going to go diamond, but you got to focus on the things that get you to diamond and not the things that hold you back. Mm-hmm. So many of you just focus on the people and the ones that aren't working and the enrollments you're not getting. Well, focus on the new conversations that you can have and focus on the 2 people that are showing up to your teams. And if y'all go back on my YouTube channel to October of the year before I went presidential, so 2017, 2 freaking people got on my team training as a diamond, an established diamond, okay? And I used to get off those things and cry. And look at this now. We just maxed out a training for people talking about how you did it and you let the crap go. I've been through crap. Kelsey's been through crap. We all been through crap, but what we do is we rise above it. And the successful people that are at conference, I can tell you right now that the people that are sitting on the floor at conference when you go in February would not sit there and tell you that all the stuff wasn't worth it. There's nothing that I would not go through again to know that it would get me to this point, that I would find the leaders that I found out of the thousands of people who don't do nothing. I don't focus on them. I focus on people that I do have and the people that I don't, that are watching me, that are going to change everything for me.
And I wanted to read something from this book because I know a lot of us are going through trials. We're going through trials of all kinds. And even when a lot of times too, it's funny because even when your business is going up, sometimes your personal life can go down. And so we're always going through different types of struggles. And so this is what I wanted to read to you. Why does God test us? Why does God put us through trials? Number 1, because he wants to prove himself to us. And number 2, it's a chance for us to prove ourselves to God, right? So this is why we should consider it joy when we experience trials. They're the way that we graduate to the next grade of God's kingdom. I know some people who have been saved for 25 years, but they don't have 25 years of experience. They have 1 year of experience repeated 25 times. They are frustrated with their faith, but it's because they aren't learning the lessons that God's trying to teach them. Okay. And here's the thing is how are you responding to the test that God's giving you? Are you walking in faithfulness or are you walking in fear? Okay. And when we experience this test, that's the best part because we can be a great student, but until we are able to actually walk in faith and experience what it's like to feel faith when your check goes down, when people quit your team, because guess what? God's promises are still true. This promise that he gave you are still true. Okay. But stop blocking them with your negative words. Stop blocking them with your negative thoughts. Okay. But the promises he gave you are still true. And so here's the thing. Jesus didn't die to keep us safe. He died to make us dangerous, right? Faithfulness is not holding the fort. It's storming the gates of hell. The will of God is not an insurance plan. Okay. It's a daring plan. So quit living as if the purpose of life is to arrive safely at death. Be bold, you guys. Start saying crazy things to yourself in amazing ways, because you know what? I'd rather view every single person who came to my business as the next millionaire than viewing every single person that comes into my business as the next dud. Right? And so I want you guys to realize that his promises are still true and that nothing that you do can disqualify you from them, but the negative words will block it until you start living positively and living in faith. Okay, this book is called Not Safe by Mark Batterson. It's literally amazing. If you also struggle with being negative, The Power of I Am is really good by Joel Osteen. It gives you really good affirmations to say over yourself. And I kind of like blend a bunch of things that work for me together, but I don't just say affirmations because it didn't work for me when I did it. I was kind of like, yeah, I'm Black Diamond. Yeah, I'm a millionaire. Yeah, but like, Tony Robbins talks about incantations, which just mean that you are literally saying it with authority, right? Because it's different when I say I am a Black diamond, but it's different when you say I am a Black diamond. Okay. So it's the way that you say it. It's how you say it. So that's the difference between an affirmation and an incantation. And so that's important. Shay, do you want to add anything else?
I was just going to say mic drop. Because I love that. I love that last passage that you just read. That was so good.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was like so mind-blowing to me when it was like, Jesus didn't die to keep us safe. He didn't die here. Like our relationship with him is not a freaking insurance plan. It's not something that we can just fall back on and say, oh, Jesus got me. Prayer does not replace laziness.
No.
Okay. But I'm telling you, when you take a step, God will take two. And you take that step in faithfulness. Okay. Did you want to pray to close this out?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want to pray or you want me to do it?
You can if you want.
Okay. Dear Jesus, I just want to say thank you for every single person that was on here and every single person that's going to watch the recording, because I just pray that one thing that Shay or I said touch their business and that they take one thing and implement it into their business right away. And that this is something that they can look back on and say, the day that I watched that Zoom is the day my mindset shifted. And I ask that you just let people's freaking character rise up to the calling that you have for them, and that whatever we have called on our lives, that we step into it with faith and not fear, and that we choose that every single day. We always know that the temptation is going to be there, but when we keep our eyes fixed on you, when we keep our eyes fixed on what we want, what you've put, what desires that you put on our heart, then we can stay true and walk in that faithfulness. We ask that you continue to bless our businesses abundantly, and that you teach us the lessons that you are trying to teach us through these trials. And we know that we'll graduate to the next level of your kingdom. In your name we pray. Amen.
Freaking y'all. And I want y'all to not just take this as, like we said, the motivation. Don't take this and just go to bed and forget about it tomorrow. Take this and apply this to your life and your business. Take the notes that you took and get off this and go instill belief in your team. And go focus on those things that make you just set your soul on fire, and write the goals of your teams and do everything that we said to do, and come back and tell us and message us how your business has changed after this Zoom. So we love y'all. Thank you, Kelsey, for doing this. Thank you,
Shay, for having me. Bye, guys.
Bye.